So in this next section, we're continuing to divide with radicals. The one difference is in this section, we're going to see like a binomial in the numerator or a binomial in the denominator. So we're working with more than one term in either the numerator, denominator, or in some of the examples, we might have two terms in both, the top and the bottom. So don't forget that it's considered bad practice to leave a radical in the denominator. So in order to get rid of that, we're going to rationalize the denominator. So we talked about how to do this on the last section. On example 403, we're trying to get rid of the square root of 6. So I'm going to multiply it by the square root of 6, same thing on top. So notice here, we're going to have to multiply that square root of 6 by each of these terms. When I distribute that, I'm going to get the square root of 18 minus 9 square root of 6. On bottom, we're going to get 2 times 6. Square root of 6 times square root of 6 is just 6. And then now we want to simplify what we can. I'm going to come over here to the side and simplify the square root of 18. We get 2 and 9, 3 and 3. So that simplifies to be 3 square root of 2. The second one can't simplify. 2 times 6 on bottom gives us 12. After we simplify, we always want to check and see if anything can be reduced or can be simplified. So we've got to look at all of our coefficients, all of our things that are not inside radical symbols. 3, 9, and 12. Those can all be divided by 3. So when we do that, we get 1 square root of 2, or just square root of 2, minus 3 square root of 6, divided by 6. And notice here, you might be tempted to go one more time, simplifying those. We can't simplify things that are inside a radical symbol with things that are on the outside. Whoops, I did my division wrong here. 12 divided by 3 is not 6. That gives me 4 right there. Okay, so on most of the rest of these, and I'm actually going to skip 406 here. I did not assign any of them that had variables in the radicals on your homework. So on example 404, notice our binomials in the denominator. So we're going to have to rationalize just a little bit differently. So let's put a little note here. To rationalize when we have a binomial in the denominator, we're going to multiply by the conjugate. And conjugate is probably a term you haven't heard before. Conjugate basically means we're going to multiply by the exact same thing. We're just going to change the sign. So we're going to multiply by the square root of 3 plus 5. And we're going to see in just a second when we multiply it out why that helps us. So I'm going to multiply by the square root of 3 plus 5. Multiply by the square root of 3 plus 5. And let's see what we get on our numerator. If we distribute on our numerator, we get 2 square root 3 plus 2 times 5 is 10. Our denominator, if we're distributing, I'm going to get square root 3 times square root 3, which is 3. Square root 3 times 5, which is 5 square root 3. And we've got a negative 5 we're distributing. Negative 5 square root 3 is minus 5 square root 3. Negative 5 times 5 is negative 25. Okay, so the reason this helps us is it gives us a plus 5 square root 3 minus 5 square root 3. That's always going to happen when you multiply something by the conjugate, is those two middle terms with radicals are going to cancel out. And that's why we do that, because we're trying to get rid of those. So if we see what we have left, we have 2 square root 3 plus 10 on top. On bottom, 3 minus 25 is negative 22. Just like in the last one, we're going to look at all of our numbers outside of the radical symbols and see if they can simplify. In this case, they can all be divided by 2, so I get 1 square root 3 plus 5 divided by negative 11. All right, continuing with example 405. If we're trying to get rid of these radicals in the denominator, we're going to multiply by the conjugate. The conjugate in this case is square root of 5 minus square root of 3. Same thing on top. If we distribute on our numerator, we're going to get square root of 15 times square root of 5 is square root of 75. Square root of 15 times negative square root of 3 is minus square root 45. On bottom, again, we're going to distribute. And you can kind of use the shortcut that we just talked about in this last one, that those two middle terms are always going to cancel out. So really, I can multiply this times this. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5. I can multiply this times this. Square root of 3 times negative square root of 3 is minus 3. Because I know those other two middle terms with the radicals are going to cancel out. So if we simplify our numerators, I'm going to kind of, just for sake of time, you can come over here and do your factor trees. I'm going to go ahead and just jump to what they will simplify to be. I'm going to get 5 square root 3 for the first one, minus 3 square root 5 for the second one, and then on bottom we have 2. We can't simplify this one at all because there's nothing that 5, 3, and 2 can all be divided by except 1. All right, and then on these last two here, 407 and 408, same process. It's just going to look a little bit, it's going to take a little bit longer because we've got to multiply the top and bottom. Both of them are a binomial times a binomial. So I'm going to multiply by the conjugate, 2 plus square root of 3, 2 plus square root of 3. If we multiply the top, we're going to get 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times square root of 3 is 3 square root 3. This times this is minus 2 square root 5. This times this is minus square root 15. And actually, none of those can be simplified, so we're just going to leave our numerator like that. And then on bottom, if we distribute, 2 times 2 is 4. We know that this one and this one are going to cancel out. We're going to have a plus and a minus of the same thing. So now we do negative square root of 3 times square root of 3, which just gives me negative 3. Okay, 4 minus 3 is just 1 on bottom. Anything divided by 1 is itself, so we just get 6 plus 3 square root 3 minus 2 square root 5 minus square root 15, and we stop right there. All right, and then our last one here. Same thing, we're going to multiply by the conjugate. The conjugate is just going to be a little bit uglier here. 5 square root of 6 minus 4 square root of 2. 5 square root of 6 minus 4 square root of 2. Okay, I'm going to give myself a long fraction to work with here. So on the numerator, if we multiply this out, this one times this one gives me 10 square root of 30. This times this gives me minus 8 square root 10. This times this gives me minus 15 square root 42. This times this gives me plus 12 square root 14. And if we go through and try to simplify all of these, actually none of them will simplify, so our numerator just stays as is. For our denominator, again, multiplying by the conjugate is going to cancel out those two middle terms. So I can multiply 5 square root of 6 times 5 square root of 6. 5 times 5 is 25. Square root of 6 times square root of 6 is 6. Minus, if we multiply our last times our last, because our middle two will cancel, we're going to get minus 16 times square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. All right, I'm just going to write below them, write what these are. This is 150 minus 32. So if we simplify this, our top is going to stay the same. I'm just going to copy and paste this. Save me a little bit of time. And then our denominator, 150 minus 32 gives me 118. And we could check and see, we have to check a lot of numbers here. We have to check and see if there's anything that 10, 8, negative 15, 12, and 118 can all be divided by. In this case, there's not, so we just stop right there.